AI safety is at a critical juncture. World regulators are taking action. And in this episode of In Focus,
is international cooperation being dangerously held hostage by geopolitics?
Should Chinese regulators be part of this conversation on AI regulation?
So yesterday we had two meetings of like-minded countries. China were absent from those meetings.
Do you see a tribalist mentality at play here?
But this is not just about China. We explore how mismanaging global AI governance could put the developing world at risk. Britain held its first AI safety summit in November 2023. The event boasted of gathering of a wide range of international officials and tech industry executives to discuss AI regulation. But China, a major AI power, was almost not invited for political reasons.
So I took a decision to invite China to the summit over the last couple of days. And it was not an easy decision. A lot of people criticized me for it. Should we be engaging with them? Can we trust them? Is that the right thing to have done?
If China is not on board with AI safety, it's somewhat of a moot situation. And thank you for inviting them.
The eventual invitation to China was hailed by the UK as a symbol of inclusiveness, and the Chinese delegation reciprocated by signing a joint declaration for AI safety on the first day of the summit. However, the details of the second day presented a quite different picture.
This is a copy of the Bletchley Declaration, where 28 countries plus the EU signed on to a series of commitments. It could be seen as the UK summit's biggest achievements until you see this announcement from the event's second day. An agreement on testing new AI models among a smaller group of what it calls like-minded governments in Canada, France, Germany, Japan, Italy. These G7 countries had already signed a deal a month prior to the event, which asked AI developers to commit to their international code of conduct.
This academic, who was a member of the Chinese delegation to the UK, felt that it was a missed opportunity for cooperation.
I don't see any reason why the Chinese government wouldn't vote for that. So I would guess if they invited China to participate, you would just get one more country to endorse that.
Zheng Yi is one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in AI, and an expert at the United Nations high-level advisory body on artificial intelligence.
Do you see a tribalist mentality at play here?
It's a little bit dangerous in a way that for the safety issues, you're not only looking for like-minded partners, you have to talk a lot to unlike-minded partners.
China's absence from several meetings on the second day caught the media's attention, and some had raised the question to Prime Minister Sunak. He responded by reiterating the significance of inviting China to the overall summit.
Lots of people said we shouldn't invite China at all, but I think it was the right long-term decision.
I would say the Bletchley Declaration now is more of a West-driven effort.
In fact, looking at the bigger picture, geopolitical tension isn't the only concern. There are fears that the tendency to limit global AI governance to a small circle could put the citizens of developing countries at risk. To find out more, I traveled halfway across the world to Portugal's capital, Lisbon.
This is Web Summit 2023, one of the world's biggest gatherings of tech entrepreneurs, academics, and regulators.
I moderated a panel on AI in Africa, where panelists expressed concern over the current global conversation on AI, fearing that issues specific to the developing region might be given less consideration by regulators and developers.
We've long talked about potential biases or discriminations against people of African descent among all these popular AI tools. What do you think about that issue?
It's important for us to see ourselves as a united front when we're tackling AI, because if you don't have a seat at the table, and I think that's really important, if you don't have a seat at the table, you can't complain, you can't get upset when pictures describing what Africans look like or are doing come across as false.
Policymakers are also seeing the danger in giving major tech companies and countries the power to steer the future of AI.
Because I'm from a small country that want to use innovation for the development of my nation, but at the same time, I know how difficult it is to impose something to the big tech companies. So I think states, they need to be aligned to show them we want them to operate, but at the same time, we want them to do it under rules with respect for people.
Yes, Minister Begovic, what do you think about this? Is it... Sure, go ahead. Is it more challenging for smaller countries to regulate AI developed by big tech?
It's very important to put it on a global level, like we did with nuclear energy. Now we come to the question, are we going to regulate it country by country, region by region, or we can really sit around the table, and put some universal principles. I mean, it's very important to include everyone, no one is left behind.
Neither Cape Verde nor Serbia was represented at the UK AI Safety Summit. The takeaways from all the conversations boil down to this. 1. Truly global coordination is needed, since AI's impact knows no boundaries. 2. Many developing countries want AI governance to be more inclusive, so everyone can address their concerns equally. These are issues that China's delegation brought to the table during the UK summit. The country's Vice Minister of Science and Technology, Wu Zhaohui, said countries regardless of their size and scale have equal rights to develop and use AI. We call for global cooperation to share AI knowledge and make AI technologies available to the public on open source terms. A key phrase here is this: open source, meaning AI developers should release the source code for the international public to use.
I think the open source strategy is very important in the AI era. I would say if we wanted to push forward, the development of AI, we have to give the opportunities not only to provide services for these countries, but also to provide them, how to do the fishing.
An open source model can allow smaller developing countries to train their own AI systems, fine-tune them for their own needs, and not totally depend on foreign services.
This ex-post from Elon Musk, who helped launch ChatGPT's developer OpenAI, says a lot. OpenAI was created as an open source, which is why I named it OpenAI, non-profit company to serve as a counterweight to Google. But now it has become a closed source, maximum profit company effectively controlled by Microsoft. Not what I intended at all.
But of course, experts say an open source model could bring additional risks, making international scrutiny all the more important. But where should this scrutiny come from?
For now, there are many regional networks that is without participation of China. And also China would not be the only voices missing from these dialogues. The Global South countries, many of them.
Instead of a tribalist group, China advocates for something more inclusive, like the United Nations. The exponential growth of AI sets the world on the path towards seismic change. If AI is indeed going to be an indispensable part of the infrastructure of the future for all countries like many would claim, China has made it clear that it stands with the developing world.